Hi and welcome to this workshop tour video. My name is Dennis and I am from Auktools Router. And recently I finished building my back cabinet, which marks the completion of my dream workshop. And even though optimizing my workshop will be an ongoing process, it will mainly involve refining things. And I put a lot of thoughts into the layout and design of my workshop. And everything has a specific reason and nothing in my workshop is there by accident. And in this video I will focus on this area and highlight the products and solutions that have benefited me the most. And the best thing is, many of these are simple and practical things anyone can implement in their workshop. And when there is some interest, I will show my different machines in a part 2 video, so let me know if that is interesting and if there are specific things you want me to highlight so that I can cover the most requested points as well. And people often tell me my workshop is very neat, some even call it a showroom. And I must admit that without my YouTube channel, my workshop would still be organized, but it would probably be more basic. That said, now that I can experience that maybe over-organized workshop, I can say it only makes this space more pleasant to stay and to walk in. So there is no adverse effect. And as a content creator, which in a way I am determined to inspire and provide various solutions to make walking in your workshop as efficient and enjoyable as possible. And of course I cleaned my workshop before shooting this video. However, this is my usual routine after completing a project. So it looks pretty much the same each time I begin a new one. And creating a central point from which I could easily access my entire workshop with my dust extractor has been a big help. And when you have your workshop well organized and clean it after each project, it only takes 30 to 60 minutes to clean it up again. My workshop measures 6 meters wide by 10 meters long. And I divided the space into two areas, one for the larger machines and one for assembly. And the assembly area is where you use the most tools, and therefore I prefer it to be as organized as possible, because during a project it can quickly become messy. One essential aspect of organizing your workshop is having enough space to store your stuff. And I created a very flexible drawer system, and if you have to start from the beginning, use this system. It will save you a lot of time and money. And all my drawers are the same and interchangeable. And the only difference is the size of the front, which means that I can change this 14 centimeter front for a 7 centimeter front, and I will have a small drawer. And they slide in MDF with a groove every 7 centimeters, so I can place them where I want. And this is not a high-end solution, but it works great and gives you so much more flexibility for the future. So it's great to have a drawer system that can quickly adapt to your future changes and needs. And make sure to designate a few well-organized drawers for items you use regularly. Having a fixed place for these items has helped me keep track of everything without having to search for them. And you don't need to organize all your drawers this way, just a few will do. And I use a 20-watt diode laser to cut this into 10mm MDF, making it a very cost-effective solution. And for items that need more protection, I use hard form, which can also be cut with a diode laser or a CO2 laser. And as I mentioned earlier, I recently completed the cabinet constructions on the back wall. And it took me some time to plan out how I wanted to organize it. I prefer to have my tools visible and easily accessible, and that is why I do not want to store them in cisterns. And I ended up using overhead cabinet door hinges, which allows me to easily grab a tool and leave the door open while walking, because there's enough space above me. And I stored my drilling machines in an open space. And because I also wanted some light shining on the chargers, I made the shelves from acrylic. And I sanded the sides for a more exciting look, so they would reflect the light nicely. I wanted to have lots of space for screws and accessories I needed for different tools. So I used these storage containers. And viewers from the Netherlands, the Action sell these containers for just €6 a piece. They come in grey, but I painted them black. And now I can store all the accessories for a specific tool in one place. And I also have an alternative from Amazon, and I will leave a link in the description. This is a short message that when you need some inspiration to make the best out of your workshop, visit my website www.hooktonwood.online. Here you will find all the ideas I came up with to improve my workshop. And now I offer detailed plans for most of these ideas. So visit www.hooktonwood.online. Ultimately, I like how this complete back wall turned out. It has a footprint of 4.5 meters by 80 centimeters, but it stores all my essential tools and accessories. It functions as a miter station, but because of the sunken T-tracks, it does not limit my workspace. And my 0.0 stop block with digital meter is so convenient that when you are used to it, you never want to go back. And the good news is I tried to get it on the market as a complete set. So it would help if you could let me know if this would be a product to consider if I could offer it to you. So let me know in the comments. It would really speed up the process. And it also functions as my drill press station, but it does not influence the capacity of my miter station. And I still believe my drill press platform is how a platform should function. The reference on the side guarantees a consistent fan setup along with other nice features. And if you want to know more about it, I made 2 videos about the drill press platform and you can buy plans on my site. And it also houses my dust extractor. And to get the most out of it and lower the noise, I made a silent box with a valve system and extra filters to better clean the air. So ultimately, I think my back workbench cabinet is a very well designed and efficient workspace that also looks incredible. When the size of your workshop allows it, create as much workbench surface as possible. And I'm really pleased with my current setup of workbenches. And I'm thrilled with my height adjustable central workbench. I place it on the Velde VET 300S, and unfortunately that does not make it affordable, but a height adjustable workbench has many advantages. And of course it is better for your back to adjust your workbench to the most comfortable position depending on your work or the height of your workpiece. But besides that, you can align it perfectly with other workbenches to collaborate. And once you get used to this, you will frequently adjust the height. Letting the top of your workbench run through slightly creates a space where you can place some essential tools. And this is one example of a simple, implementable idea that helps you to organize your workshop. Placing your most essential tools for your workbench nearby is very efficient, and you will not believe how much time I saved searching for them during a project. And my other essential tools are on the walls and my wall cabinet. And this is my router table workbench. And in my former workshop I got the idea of combining a router table with a workbench. And although I could have chosen a more traditional router table in my new workshop, I chose the combination instead. I like to edge trim larger workpieces on my router table, and this giant platform provides good stability. And the dust extraction is much better than when you do this with a handheld router. Besides that, it creates a huge capacity and you can do work that you usually have to do with a dado blade on your table saw. So as a router table, I prefer it above a smaller, more traditional router table. And when you combine it with a workbench, it is essential that you can easily add and remove your fans. The in-craft fans works perfectly with the BenchDog mounting plate, although I made one myself in the past and that works perfectly as well. However, a fence that runs on a T-track, like the one I tested in episode 45, is relatively easy to install and a good affordable alternative. And because it's also a very stable workbench, it can perfectly complement my central workbench. So even in my more extensive workshop, this combination of workbench and router table creates lots of flexibility. Like on my workbench, I wanted my router essentials nearby and in a fixed place. And they are really easy to implement solutions that make a world of difference. And too often I had to search for these tools when I needed them. And of course you can make this as simple as you want, but when you give it just a little bit more care, it looks fantastic in your shop. And I have had different router sets up, like the setup with my Auktools Router and the Inca clean sheet box. And the best feature was the ability to control the speed outside of the box. And we do not have that many options in Europe, and I can recommend this Auktools Router when you are on a budget. And recently I changed it for this JSM router. And from a router perspective, it runs as smoothly as the Auktools Router, and it controls the speed from the outside as well, although in a more fancy way. But the most significant benefit, however, is that it cools the motor with air outside of the dust extraction box. And besides that, it blows air not out of the top of the router, but at the sides, so it does not conflict with the airstream of the dust extraction box. And here's a photo after I have done some router work with MDF, and you can imagine that when you do this with a router that cools the motor from inside of the box, all the dust will enter the router. So if you use a router other than this JSM in a box, remember to clean it regularly with an air gun. And lastly, I have a small workbench on the Velde FET 300 base. And I have considered selling it, but having the flexibility of an extra workbench at hand is too convenient, especially with bigger projects or when you want to set up a base for small production work. And my slider runs over it in the lower position, so it doesn't get in the way when I store it. And I recently got a UJK top that fitted this workbench perfectly. It includes a CNC grid of dog holes and grooves that handle regular rail guide clamps. And based on its accuracy and materials, I found the price interesting. So I hope to find out soon how this would hold against my former surface with micro jig grooves. There are a few products I want to highlight because they benefit me greatly and are often overseen. For comfort, I have these rubber mats on the floor, and these should help against fatigue. I do not know how to pronounce that in English. And I did not believe it at first, but this really helps. Not only can you stand on it for a more extended period without pain or getting tired, but it feels so much more comfortable when you stand on it. And I will leave a link in the description because they were relatively affordable and well worth to try. I like workbenches with dog holes, but although many holes will increase flexibility, you only use a few at a time. So covering these holes is very convenient. Keeps the space under your top clean and prevents things from falling in. And BenchDog has these lovely steel versions that you can remove with a magnet. And you can imagine that making these high quality covers from steel costs some money, especially when you need a lot of them, which you probably do. And I recently got these from UJK, and with them money is no longer an issue. And they are simple plastic covers that you can remove with your hands, so it is convenient because you do not have to grab a magnet first as with the BenchDog version. However, you should be careful not to push them too far because you will need a small screwdriver to remove them. It works well when you use a piece of wood to press them in a hole. So I think this is a must-have accessory for your workbench with dog holes. Towels to clean your hands, to remove glue, to wipe off oil, to clean your shop. For a few years now I use these paper towels from Tork. And I tried many before I finally got one I really like. They are the 530179, but I'll leave a link in the description. And if you do not have a good solution yourself yet, try these towels. They are the only towels I use, and I use them for everything. In the end, a dream workshop is not about the most expensive tools, although I realize I have many. The joy of woodworking for me is how well everything blends and how organized and inspirational the environment is. It helps me to clear my head and focus on the project, making my workshop my favorite place to spend my time. And in part 2, I want to show you my machines, and when you think it also interesting, the power tools I use. So let me know what you want to see in episode 2, and I will try to cover that as well. I hope you liked this video. Let me know that in the comments as well. As always, thank you for watching. Do not forget to subscribe, and we will see each other next time.